Day 1237, counting. And wow, what a busy day again. And we have breaking news. We have breaking news about Thomas Kane, the director of emergency services there on Fort Bliss, also chief of security at Fort Bliss, also security and professor at Park University, also in business with the CYS administrator and Ogle, which is very, very, very important to us because of the 85,000 vanishing children on Fort Bliss in just a very short time. How does 85,000 children vanish on a military installation that is guarded, that has resources? Uh, you know, we give the military everything, all the resources, and uh, they can't even secure a military installation, and then they put children in tents and the big emergency intake center, and hire all kinds of people, spend all kinds of millions, and they vanish. They vanish. They are unaccounted for. There is no documentation. And then people wonder why we are in this 3 years going, wanting to know where our child is, which he was, a minor and an adult um, during this whole time. Um, I absolutely want to know where my child is, right? Even if he's an adult, even if he's a soldier, but yet he was considered a minor for part of that time. Um, I think that's very, very important because we were told that in the meetings. They take underage drinking seriously. Um, and yet they don't take it seriously that they have 85,000 missing, vanishing children, unaccounted for, unaccounted for on Fort Bliss. And we would like to know um, how all this fits together, because it fits together with the Walmart mass shooting case. And that's why today's been very, very busy, looking through all the corruption, all the fraud, waste, and abuse. Loretta Lynn Hewitt just reported fraud, waste, and abuse, didn't she? She absolutely did. If you're wondering, who is this Loretta Lynn Hewitt? Well, she's a prosecutor. She's a prosecutor from San Antonio. I don't know where her home is, but I know that they hired her from San Antonio, and she is supposed to be the prosecutor with the most experience in the district attorney's office there in El Paso. That's why they hired her. They needed somebody with a lot of experience because the case was in pieces. The case was in pieces, millions and millions of dollars. And what do we get? Unaccounted for minors, vanishing children, and a mass murder case in pieces. A mass murder case in pieces. And this is just so serious. And of course, a missing soldier, uh, code red murdered, internally murdered. And now we have um, audio where the DS, the director of emergency services, the chief of security of Fort Bliss, is saying about Richard, he was a good meal for the coyotes. We have him on audio. He was a good meal for the coyotes. Millions of dollars. Let me go to Facebook. See, it looks like we're live. Thank you, everyone. Hopefully, everyone can hear me. everyone can see me. Thank you so much. So, this is breaking news. A witness. We will call the witness, cooperating witness. Cora has provided audio, and we contacted before we did this live stream. We contacted the general there, Major General James Eisenhower, the commander of Fort Bliss, to let him know about this new evidence um, about the DES, Thomas Kane, what he, everything that's on this audio. I mean, that's just um, a little bit, a little bit of what's on there. We have so much. We have so much, y'all. That's just like a hairline from everything that we have, and what it's pointing to once again is that Richard is deceased. When you say he's a good meal for the coyotes, he was a good meal. He was a good meal for the coyotes. That means he's deceased. Okay, that is the director of emergency services. That is the chief of security of Fort Bliss. Um, Absolutely, that is, it makes you speechless. It makes you speechless. So I think a lot of people need to be investigated on Fort Bliss in the chain of command, and I think a lot of people will be arrested. I think there'll be a lot of arrests on Fort Bliss because, and there should be, and there absolutely should be, and these generals, General McConville and General Mealy and General, Garrett, they're going and retiring and whatever. They don't want to be held accountable for their crimes against humanity and the crimes against our country, crimes against our service members. Um, and Bernabe is still there. He needs to be absolutely stripped. We have so much evidence and direct witness testimony from our own eyes, our own ears, of the damage that he did on Fort Bliss. And don't forget, Denisha Montgomery came from Wiesbaden. That whole thing, being an MP and being assaulted, and then, this murder suicide happened in Wiesbaden. And guess who was in Wiesbaden before Fort Bliss? It was Bernabe. It was Sean Bernabe. He needs to be stripped. Everywhere he goes is trouble. It's absolutely chaos. I wonder if he's the sister, no, I should say, maybe it's the brother of Leilani Hart, right? Because wherever she goes, it's just chaos. And yet she gets protected. Why does she get protected? Because this case that she's totally involved in, absolutely involved in, is part of the uh, August 3rd, 2019 Walmart mass shooting, which, you heard me right. I said August 3rd, and that Leilani Hart was absolutely, it, all these avenues point to Leilani Hart, right? And if she's involved in Richard's case, and she's involved in 3905 Bliss Avenue, Bliss Avenue, Bliss Avenue, Bliss Avenue is sweet to our ears because, that is what connects all of this with hard evidence. And yeah, absolutely. And she's involved in Bliss Avenue, in Richard's case, absolutely, which points to, uh, very easy suspicion. It's very easy to suspect that she has a hand in the Walmart mass shooting. And lo and behold, the mass shooting happened on Dallas Hart's birthday. Dallas Hart's birthday. So what does he um is he involved? Is he connected? Is he connected to Patrick Crusius? And by the way, we have confirmed that Patrick Crusius is autistic. Okay? So absolutely he had help. All this news narrative, and we know because of Bob Moore and El Paso Matters and using unreliable sources, that they use an unreliable source and they absolutely put out a false story because they were listening to Leilani Hart, a convicted criminal. Um, so they were giving false information to the people of El Paso. Like it's not enough that El Paso had to go through a mass shooting and had to suffer through that. And it's not enough that El Paso has to go through Fort Bliss not knowing how to keep track of children, right? 85,000 unaccounted for minors. What's going on? And bringing forth criminal syndicates into their society, into their community. It's not enough for that to happen, but then they have to stomach uh, Leilani Hart and this false information coming out of the media, being lied to by the media, that they can't even trust that a journalist like Bob Moore and Angela Kachurga, because they will use an unreliable source. And now it just got to, there's more. There's more. Because the people of El Paso and the service members on Fort Bliss, not only can they not trust the media there, of course, we know that they can't trust the media. I'm telling you right now, El Paso Matters use an unreliable source. Also, we pay millions of dollars, and El Paso and the service members can't even trust our generals to know how to keep record of minors coming in, children coming in onto their installation. Terrible things happening. Then you have the criminal syndicate coming in there saying, oh, if they can't keep track of that and they have a security issue and we can just walk in and they will absolutely, and I have more breaking news for you through this Thomas Kane audio that we received from Cora. Um, there's so much information, my mind is swimming. So let me take one step at a time. We know that the Walmart case is connected to Richard's case. We know that there is a lack of transparency in the Walmart case, a lack of transparency in Richard's case. We know that there are the same people in the Walmart case that are in Richard's case. We know that both have cost millions of dollars. We know that they have been trying to hide. We know that hide information, tamper with information, tamper with witnesses. We know that because I just talked to a person 2 days ago that absolutely confirmed that after the Walmart shooting, there were, and I talked to multiple people, not just one, multiple people that said that the witnesses said there were more than one shooter. That the witnesses that they heard at the beginning of all of this, that the witnesses claimed that there was more than one shooter. and that the narrative soon came out to block what the witnesses have said and put forth a cover that there was only Patrick Crucius. And he's autistic. We have that confirmed. So he had to have help. And why are they not transparent in all of that? That he is autistic. So then who are his influencers? Okay? We each have influencers. Who is his influencer? That would be very, very important since they're claiming that this is a hate crime, which is a political crime. Because if you can create a hate crime, then you can create a political crime. And you can move the people of El Paso, you can move the people, the service members on Fort Bliss to a direction that you want them to go. You can wag the tail, right? You can pull the strings. With hate crimes, you can absolutely do that. So does this mean that the crime against Richard was a hate crime? I believe so, because they're connected. They're absolutely connected. And Patrick Crucius was arrested for the Walmart mass shooting. He was tried in the federal court. He was found guilty. He was given 90 consecutive life sentences. But no, that's not the end of it. You still have a prosecutor on the state level that's enjoying the politics of this. And those are not my words. Those are Loretta Hewitt's, that Bill Hicks was messing with the politics. He wanted the politics. All of this is about the politics. And I was talking to an El Pasoan today, and they were saying that he's still trying to get the death penalty. That Bill Hicks is still trying to get the death penalty. He doesn't even have a trial date. He says that the evidence is not even ready. Has he not tampered with enough of it? Because we know that Richard's file has been tampered with. We know that the archives have been tampered with. We know that every witness has been tampered with. We know that our search for Richard has been tampered with, and they've tried to sabotage it. But God is great. God is bigger than they are. And we have pushed forward knowing that these people are up to no good, knowing that they're up to no good, and not wanting to play their game, not wanting to participate in their Vanity Fair. And, you know, God is so good because in church, they needed some help. And so I had to lead Pilgrim's Progress. I didn't have to. I volunteered to lead Pilgrim's Progress to, I guess, get stronger to fight for justice for Richard. And I had read Pilgrim's Progress years and years ago, and so I knew that this was an opportunity to get stronger. And of course, you forget details, and so then when you start reading it again, you're it's amazing. The world doesn't change. The world doesn't change. That book was written hundreds of years, I think 1656, that book was written, and it doesn't change. It's all about this criminal control to create a Vanity Fair, a sex cult, child trafficking, illegal narcotics trafficking, illegal weapons trafficking, ammunition trafficking, anything that is a Vanity Fair. And we decided that we weren't going to participate in that at all. We were going to push forward, and with time, the stones of truth always pop up. They always pop up. The truth and lies cannot be sustained. They just cannot be sustained. So if you just push forward, the truth comes out. Sometimes, you have to be very humble, very, very humble. I think you should be humble on all occasions, right? But you have to realize that you have to be humble because the truth comes out and it'll come out on every one of us. And so we've just decided, okay, we're going to let the truth come out, and we have faith in the truth. And Richard has been exonerated. He's been exonerated and exonerated over and over again. His record is impeccable. He really is a true hero. And we're being told that if the complaints that he made and the reports that he made, if they would have been listened to, if they would have been heeded, um, the Walmart case might never have happened. And 23 individuals may still be alive. And maybe he would be alive too. So, and who are we? People will say, "Oh, how can, a specialist be a hero?" Right? God picks who he wants to be a hero, and God just picks who he wants to be a hero. Shakespeare and Dogberry, as you know it. What is that Shakespeare play with Dogberry? Um, my daughter will tell me. I'll have to ask. Um, but the hero is Dogberry, and he's kind of a foolish kind of investigator. And yet, because he is seeking the truth, because he is seeking righteousness, justice, righteousness is synonymous with justice. They're interchangeable. And when you seek that, you win. You win. In the long run, you win. And am I saying that there's no pain or no suffering with that? I'm not. No. We have suffered so much. Oh my gosh, we've suffered so much through all of this. Um, I remember Sammy saying, I know sometimes you cry. I said, Sammy, you don't understand. Every day we cry. Look what they did to Richard. Do you not think that Vanessa Guillen's mother cries every day? The nightmares. The nightmares are horrendous. Look what they did to Richard. And his case is part of the mass shooting case that makes it a huge nightmare. Think about what they did to those poor people. I mean, that was a brutal killing. And what they did to Richard was a brutal killing. Because that's their standard operating procedure. It is a hate crime. It's a hate crime to anyone that doesn't want to allow them to have power, political power, and to put forward further their criminal syndicate, their criminal activities. And we have proof today because you have the DES saying, oh, he was a good meal for the coyotes. What kind of man is that? What kind of director of emergency services is that? Over our volunteer sons and daughters, and he says something cold blooded like that, confirming that Richard is deceased. And he does more. He does more in the audio. He confirms more, and we'll be revealing all of that. We did um, get some institutional support today from General Eisenhower. And so we'll await what happens in all of this with the audio of Thomas Kane. And so let's go into the more news. The more news. So we have it in the audio that the 14-year-old girl that was living in the barracks, being prostituted out, was the stepdaughter of a DES security guard. So the 14-year-old girl that was living in the barracks being prostituted out, absolutely they knew that she was there because her stepdaddy was a DES security guard under Thomas Kane. That's huge news. And there's more. It takes a lot of time to go through all of this and understand what we're listening to, because we're programmed not to understand this kind of life, this kind of attitude. And so it really is disgusting that we have to subject ourselves to this information, to these crimes. Okay, so if that's not enough, then we have more. We have, is it KTSM? Let me look real quick. Channel 7. No, that's Channel 9 is KTSM. This is KVIA. KVIA is ABC 7. I'm looking at the story today. Former Walmart shooter, prosecutor levels accusations against El Paso DA. It was brutal, absolutely brutal. Loretta Lynn Hewitt, a prosecutor from San Antonio that was hired by the district attorney's office to head up the Walmart mass shooting case, has resigned. She is the 9th prosecutor to resign. One prosecutor even died. This is a toxic case. And I'm going to be, I guess I'm going to put on my tinfoil hat a little bit from everything that, look, I've been doing this for 3 years every day, 3 years. So I've learned a little bit through that time. I've connected the dots of so many people and so many situations and professions and agencies and everything that I'm going to tell you what I think here about this DA, Bill Hicks, who has botched this case with his friend, his good friend, and Felix Valenzuela's good friend. Felix Valenzuela's very close good friend, John Briggs. And John Briggs was there with Jaime Esparza. Who was Jaime Esparza? He was the district attorney that was in office when the Walmart mass shooting case happened. And he lost the election. He lost the election, which was an upset an upset election. Nobody, nobody, I've looked this up, thought that Jaime Esparza was going to lose to Yvonne Rosales. Okay, so Yvonne Rosales, um, she won. This was an upset just by a few votes. I think Jaime Esparza retired. But she won, and she came in, and John Briggs was there. John Briggs was there during the Walmart mass shooting. John Briggs was there um, with Yvonne Rosales, and John Briggs was there with Bill Hicks and is still there. And the complaints um, leveled are to John Briggs from Loretta, and that's what made us aware of who John Briggs is, and let's look him up. And if I'm getting the sequence wrong, please let me know, because this is a lot of information, and I don't have a law degree, right? I don't have a law degree, but this is a lot of information. In 3 years doing this, I've learned something just by the experience. And if you're the assistant district attorney and you've been there uh, more longer than the district attorneys, you've been through 3 district attorneys on the same case, and Loretta Lynn Hewitt, the prosecutor, is saying that John Briggs has the power over this case and she was being blocked. I think that tells you everything, because the case is in pieces. So he's there the whole time, John Briggs, and the case is in pieces. Then I think that they mean it to be in pieces. I think they mean it to be in pieces and to milk the taxpayers of millions of dollars and leave the case in pieces. And then when they hire a prosecutor to come in, they have the case in pieces, and they want it in pieces, and they do everything to keep it in pieces. They still don't have a court date. This is an open and shut case, supposedly. But what are they trying to hide? And the problem with all of this, what I see, is that and this is just my opinion, that they're trying to botch this case, just like they did Richard's case. So why would they want to botch the case? Because then you have a real chance of saying that the federal case was botched. And if the federal case is botched, that means that Patrick Crusius gets to walk away. Is that their intent the whole time? Because they don't want us to look into who's behind the mass shooting, and they botch the cases. They violate Patrick Crusius's rights, and so he can just walk away from 90 life sentences back to back. That means that was a pretty serious crime that he was convicted of. So, is that, I don't know what that means for Richard's case, because we know if and we know that it is botched. What do people get away with a lot of things in a botched case? We'd like to know. And is Bill Hicks just going to take the hit? I mean, he looks like complete failure. I mean, Loretta's saying the case is in complete disarray. I mean, but the big thing is mentioning um, John Briggs, that he made the decisions. And we know that witnesses have been intimidated, witnesses have been tampered with, information has been tampered with. Um, these are botched cases. So I think that is huge, that, you know, fraud, waste, and abuse. Um, we have audio. The audio absolutely tells the status of Richard, that he, if somebody else was talking that way, that Richard was a good meal for the coyotes, if someone else was doing it, that was just maybe a unit member or something like that, you might make excuses and say, oh, they're just being weird, they're just being inhumane, they're just, whatever. But no, this is a trained, he was a police officer, he's a trained investigator, trained security. He knows all about cases. When you are the director of emergency services, you just don't say, oh, he was a good meal for the coyotes. You just don't say that. So it absolutely is a confirmation of Richard's status as being deceased. Uh, I know, it makes you speechless. It made me speechless. Um, so, and then you have all these security breaches, and you have a want for that. You have leadership making choices to have that happen. That is a choice, to have a DES security guard's stepdaughter living in the barracks being prostituted out. That's huge. And Richard was reporting to the CPS, the Child Protective Services. Richard was reporting to the Child Protective Services. The command sergeant major said they brought in the party girls during the COVID lockdown, and that Thomas Kane gave those party girls special passes. There's all kinds of uh, information about the passes. So I think that is huge news. And thank you so much for coming on. I know it's super late. We're burning the midnight oil again. Um, so we have Leilani Hart having an affair, ruining a person's life. He's so distressed that he comes clean and says that Leilani Hart's son is involved in Richard's case. We have Leilani Hart being in a very close relationship to Thomas Kane, and her son is involved in Richard's case. We have the Walmart case that's connected to Richard's case through Bliss Avenue. Declared fraud, waste, and abuse by a highly respected prosecutor out of San Antonio, Loretta Hewitt. And I will tell you right now that Richard's case also is a botched case of fraud, waste, and abuse. Fraud, waste, and abuse to cover up a criminal enterprise, to cover up political motives. Loretta Hewitt also corroborates that this fraud, waste, and abuse is a result of political motive. That's not me saying it. That's her saying it. It's corroborated. And from all the experience that we have received day in and day out doing this case, whoever orchestrated, and we know it has to do with those at 3905 Bliss Avenue, the Walmart mass shooting, who helped Patrick Crucius, which, looking at more and more of the videos and pictures and everything, absolutely we need to question what happened there. For the sake of 23 victims and their families, and for the sake of Richard, because it's all connected. And if they did that just for political reasons, if they orchestrated a mass shooting for political power to further their criminal business enterprise, that's what it seems like to us. And Richard didn't want to go along with the Vanity Fair, didn't want to go along with the criminal enterprise, with the furthering of the criminal enterprise, which I call the Vanity Fair. He got in the way. And they brutally, code red, murdered him. So code red, that's Leilani Hart. That means it was internal. That means that Major General Clem Coward, and we have information about him that will be coming out soon, Clem Coward and Dirty Agent Marlon Soto. Dirty Agent Marlon Soto is still there. Why is he still there? If they care about the security of the installation, if they care about our service members, if they care about justice at all, why is he still there? He should be arrested. We have more than enough evidence that we have given them that he's a dirty agent. Even if he was ordered, he's dirty agent for obeying unlawful orders. Good evening, Anicia. Thank you so much for coming on. And you know, my thing is, if he's so involved and he's still there, was he involved in the Walmart case? What about Jay Pollan? What role did Jay Pollan have in the Walmart case? Because he's very involved in Richard's case. What role did Tavita Nusa have in the Walmart case? Because he's very involved in Richard's case. What role did Dallas Hart have in the Walmart case? I mean, it was on his birthday, because he's very involved in our son's case. You know, and it goes on and on. And so, and now we have good news coming out. We have Cora providing the audio. We have evidence upon evidence that Leilani Hart is up to no good and that she was um, absolutely confirmed that Dallas Hart was involved, or her son, I don't know, she has two, she had three, um, stepson too, right? Part of Richard's case, we have witness testimony that Dallas and James were getting child pornography, and that Dallas they left some behind and they had to go and get some. Um, we have witness testimony that they're involved in child pornography. So it has so many facets. But the lies are not um, holding up, and they're crumbling, and the fraud, waste, and abuse is everywhere. And I'm just wondering, it's just too convenient, because if the fraud, waste, and abuse is happening in the Patrick Crucius case, the state case, which threatens the entire federal case, he could walk away. He could walk away. So, all right, everyone. I will be back tomorrow, God willing. And thank you so much for all your support. Please share. We do have confirmation that the IRS is investigating um, Bob Moore of El Paso Matters, using unreliable sources for his news, that he's not trustworthy. So you have to really scrutinize him and let the IRS know that you're not going to tolerate him being a political attack dog, um, because people are getting murdered. 23, including Richard, 24, and more and more. So, okay, everyone, thank you so much. God bless you, and I will be back tomorrow, God willing. Bye bye.